come to train, lead to serve, but it's also a glorious thing. When I found out that Jesus actually shed his blood 7 different times, you know, we just heard he shed his blood for us. He did. 7 different times. Jesus shed his blood for us. And in Luke, which I hope you'll look these scriptures up, his emotions. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane. And he said he drops of blood because he was praying, Father, if it be possible, could you pass this cup from me? He knew what he was going to have to suffer. And this is in the Garden of Gethsemane. Number 2 was his face. They beat him in the face. He was unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. The face was so swollen, and blood was coming out of his face. And that's in Luke 22:64. And then they put a crown of thorns on my Savior's head. It was his mind, a crown of thorns. And they weren't gentle either. They were like, you know, they just stuck it in. So that means there was holes in his head and blood was coming out of his mind. So when Jesus literally died for everything for us, our emotions, our mind, our salvation, so that he made a way to heaven. And when they whipped Jesus, I want to tell you about the kind of whip that was whipped with him. You know, when you think of a whip, you think of a horse whip, right? A horse whip, which would hurt the sting anyway. Oh no. This was a whip that had leather thongs on it, and it had bones at the end of it with metal mixed into it. So the 33 to 39 times that he was whipped, and they tie you up like this, and they flog. It's called flogging, and they flogged him. The soldiers flogged him. Wham! 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 Every time they did that, it ripped his skin. Every single time they took that. Because those little bones at the bottom of that whip and the metal that was in that tore the skin. That was blood. His hands, the spikes went through his wrists. Do you know that the spikes that they put in there were anywhere from, depending on how big they would make them or the mold them, but they were minimum 5 inches tall, maximum 7 inches tall. Huge. They were huge nails. They wasn't just a little bitty nail. And then they drove spikes through his feet as well. That was the 6th time he shed his blood. And the 7th time, in Sunday school I got to do this more detailed, but I'm not going to take that much time when you come to training. That's why it's so important to come to Sunday school, because you get a lot more tidbits. I just love to have you, that's all. I'm not trying to lay any guilt on you. And then they pierced his side and blood and water came out. And that's in John 19:34 if you're taking notes. Jesus shed his blood for us, and next Sunday, this is the crucifixion Sunday. This is Palm Sunday. And next Sunday is Resurrection Day. I like to call it instead of Easter. The world calls it Easter. I call it the Resurrection Day. And when he died on the cross for me, if the enemy, we said this in Sunday school, the devil would have never killed him. He thought he had him. He thought he had him. He thought he was stronger and bigger, and that he was in control. Little did he know, God was in control. And that he had to die on that cross. He was a spotless lamb. There was no sin in him, no sin. He was the final sacrifice, the sacrificial lamb. When you think of Jesus just shedding his blood, you tell somebody. Tell somebody today, tomorrow, the next day. He not only shed his blood once, 7 times. 7 types of punishment. From the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. And not a broken bone. And then he said, it is finished. And he went down into the lower parts. And he took the keys of life and death back from the death. Woo! Hallelujah. The light that came out of him. For us. For you. Make it personal. He did all this for you. For you. For you. Make it personal. For you. For me. For us. What little does he ask of us? Just to love him. Fellowship with him. Tell him you love him every day. Then he'll show you things he might want you to do. And he walks with me and he talks with me. Thank you, Lord, for shedding your blood for me. 7 times, the perfect number. 7.